Welcome to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, your daily dose into the health and wellness world.
Welcome back to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, where we dive into everything health, fitness, and nutrition related 5 days a week in 5 minutes or less. This podcast is brought to you by Umzu, and I'm your host, Tyler Woodward. This is day 4 of the Boosting Your Testosterone Masterclass, and today we're talking about lifestyle factors for boosting your testosterone. But if you're not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the final episode where we'll be diving into testosterone boosting supplements. As we all know, the lifestyle you lead has a huge impact on your overall health and also, more specifically, on your testosterone levels and general hormonal health. So let's take a more in-depth look at a few of these lifestyle practices you can actually integrate. Probably the most important lifestyle factor is sleep. If you're not aware, your testosterone levels are highest in the morning. The reason for that being that the majority of testosterone synthesis happens at night. Poor sleep quantity and quality have been shown time and time again to result in impaired testosterone production. Multiple studies have found that there is a near linear relationship with how much you sleep and your testosterone levels, meaning the more you sleep, the higher your testosterone levels. This will obviously have a diminishing return, as sleeping 12 hours per day is unlikely to yield any additional increases in testosterone over a quality 8 to 9 hours of sleep. The urge to sleep for such long periods may actually be an indicator of poor sleep quality or other issues going on. But that's a tangent we can talk about another day. We also know from a pretty solid body of evidence that those who suffer from poor sleep, from sleep apnea, also consistently have lower testosterone compared to those without sleep apnea. If you're not getting a solid 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep, start making it a priority. Everything else I'm going to address today is like a drop in the bucket compared to getting high quality sleep. A few things you can do to improve your sleep quality and quantity are going to sleep and waking up at the same time, getting some morning sunlight upon waking, sleeping in a cold, dark room, and sleeping with natural fibers. You don't really want to use any of those synthetic petroleum-based fibers like polyester, nylon, or acrylic. And there's also some evidence that sleeping commando may be of benefit, since as we discussed earlier in the series, the testes like to be a little bit cooler than the rest of your body. But it's probably not going to be a massive game changer for you. Speaking of things that touch your testes, there's a small but growing body of evidence which indicates that you do not want plastic touching the family jewels. I know when I say this, I sound a bit nuts. Haha. You're probably thinking, when does plastic ever touch the boys? But the reality is probably every day. Most underwear today is only partially made of natural materials like wool, cotton, hemp, etc., with the rest coming from polyester, nylon, or acrylic. We know certain types of plastic can exert effects through topical absorption as well. And while there's not a huge amount of evidence showing that plastic in your underwear will severely tank your testosterone levels, I wouldn't recommend taking the chance, especially if you're going to be taking the time and effort to do everything else we've discussed in this series so far. So join me in investing in high quality clothing that uses organic cotton or other natural materials. Next up, we've got exercise. But before we go into specific types of exercise, I just wanted to briefly address body composition. We know that being moderately to severely overweight has been repeatedly associated with lower testosterone levels. I don't know how much evidence there is on the flip side, but I'd infer that you also don't want to be underweight. We also know that having higher amounts of muscle mass has been associated with elevated levels of testosterone. All of these things likely exist on somewhat of a bell curve, where the individuals with the highest testosterone levels on average will probably be in the middle. Not overweight, not underweight, muscular, but can still fit through doors. Obviously, body composition and exercise are pretty directly related, but I think arguably the most important thing is just, in general, moving enough throughout the day. One study found a strong correlation between testosterone and step count, finding that those that took less than 4,000 steps on average had the lowest total testosterone. What I would question from this study is how directly correlated with the low step counts with obesity, meaning people that took the least steps were probably more likely to be obese. If I had to give more general advice, it would be doing whatever form of exercise you enjoy most, or in some cases, hate the least. Although if we're talking about what's optimal, it seems like the best forms of exercise for testosterone include weightlifting and interval training. This is likely a result of increased amounts of muscle mass generally being associated with increased testosterone levels. And if you think about professional weightlifters or sprinters, which is a type of interval training, they tend to be very muscular individuals. For the interval training, I would include things like sprints or a sprint workout in the pool, same kind of high-intensity interval training, Tabata, or other forms of high-intensity work, followed by a short rest period, followed by more intense work. Personally, I would opt to do both the interval training and the weightlifting on different days. The least preferred form of exercise is long-distance endurance training, which is very stressful on the body and has been repeatedly associated with low testosterone, especially in excess. If you're going to run distance, I'd keep it under a 5K or preferably a mile and do it more as a sprint. And if your way of staying active is through playing a sport like basketball or soccer, something that you really enjoy, I wouldn't worry about it too much. There's also a good amount of evidence that competition alone increases testosterone levels. So just play to win, whatever sport it may be. If you can combine whatever activity you're doing with some sunshine, it will likely compound the benefits of said activity. Low vitamin D levels are another thing that has been repeatedly associated with low T, so spending some time in the sun to boost vitamin D will definitely be useful. I also think sunlight has a number of other benefits, and I wouldn't be surprised if sunlight in and of itself has a direct testosterone increasing effect. There's also one study which I could not find that found that sunning your balls resulted in a 200% increase in testosterone, but I cannot confirm nor deny these results. But my 2 cents is to soak up the sun wherever you can. Just don't get too red. Last but certainly not least, do whatever you can to lower the stress in your life. Cortisol, one of our body's main stress hormones, is pretty much a direct antagonist to testosterone. You do need some cortisol, as it's what wakes you up in the morning, among a number of other functions, but today many of us are leading lives of excess cortisol. So find things that you enjoy doing that alleviate stress, whether it's movie night, a massage, exercise, meditation, or sex, all of which can be profoundly beneficial. Sex in particular is a very important one. It can have a pretty profound effect on testosterone both in the short and long term. More specifically, we know that not having sex or ejaculating for long periods of time can result in significantly lower testosterone. I'm not going to go deep into the science behind masturbation here, as I'm not the most informed on it, but from what I've seen, it's not something that you want to be doing chronically, and you definitely don't want to be watching lots of porn. Well, that's it for this episode, so remember to integrate some of those lifestyle factors to help increase your testosterone levels. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button and to share it with a friend. And remember, these opinions are my own, based on my own research and experiences, and is not medical advice. Until next time, be good.